You may have been able to figure out from how quickly we went from announcing our Patreon to getting all the tables set up in our new Lego City studio that I'm not a particularly patient man. When I decide I want to do something, it becomes an obsession, and all I do is that thing. So you can imagine how much I'm suffering at the moment while I wait for some wood to be delivered. I need wood to level out the tops of my tables and build my raised platform. I need to do both of those things before I can put any Lego into the Lego City. As I'm recording this, it's been like 4 days since I assembled those tables. I ordered the wood a week ago. How long does it take to cut and deliver some wood? I need the wood. I don't yet have the wood. So because I can't do anything while I'm waiting for that, I have had to channel my obsession somewhere, and that obsession has been channeled towards designing and redesigning potential layouts for the Lego City. And I figured, let's share them with you, because we can't do any Lego building at the moment because we're in a holding pattern while we wait for wood. So I've got 4 potential designs for how we might set up our Lego City. I think they each get better in turn, but I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. Are there elements you'd want to take from maybe 1 or 2 of them and combine it? Feedback is very much welcome. Now is the time to give me your suggestions and your ideas, because once I've got the whole city set up, I'm not going to, hopefully, probably, maybe I won't constantly keep rearranging it. I'd like to think we can get it right first. We're not going to get it right first time, but goodness me, am I going to try? Let's look at the designs. So this first one was the one I actually did when I was originally kind of planning things. I say originally, it was probably like 6 days ago. But you can see this actually still has the additional table down the bottom here, which now we've got all the tables assembled. We know we can't fit that additional table in, so it is actually going to cut across there, so we can't do this one. But I wanted to show you kind of the evolution, the iteration of where I was thinking and how it's kind of developed from one version to the next. So this was my first idea. We've got the long tables along the back. This little grey line through there indicates a retaining wall, and basically is a way of me telling myself on each design where my raised platform is. So on this one, the raised platform goes all the way across the back wall. So this whole area here is raised up enough space to fit trains underneath. And then we've got Lego City in the middle, both top and bottom. We've got a train line that would run through the middle of the Lego City, with Brick Cross Station there. So it's basically, you've got these back-to-back modulars, but with a gap between them that's wide enough to fit a train line in. So you have Brick Cross Station sat just there with the train line running behind it, and then the train line disappears into the tunnel and then would kind of underneath the city loop around and come out at the seaside. So we'd have a train line that goes from the city into the sea, and we'd have another train station over here in the much less designed seaside area. On all of these versions, the district I'm working on initially is the Lego City, the downtown, the modulars. We're not really thinking of the other districts in terms of anything other than like an overall title for them at this stage. So they're not as designed as the layouts in the city area. We'd have a train line that would run through there and loop round. We'd then have a tram line as well, because you've got to have trains and trams, and the tram line would probably just run back and forth. It might disappear underneath the city as well, so we'd perhaps have it run all the way back through there, but just so that we've got trams coming back and forth as well, so we've got lots of movement in the city at all times. And then on the top level, we'd have another tram line that would run all the way along this long road that goes all the way along and then kind of loop around and stop here, where we kind of run out of space. I very quickly learned that you can't really have anything looping around on this top level, because we've only got 4 base plates of depth, and if you add a loop, you're losing half a base plate here, half a base plate there, and then you've only got 3 base plates in the middle to play with, and that is not a lot of space once you've got roads and stuff in as well. So on this one, we've got the 2 rows of modulars. We've got a little bit of a crisscross road design. I've kind of tried to logically space stuff out so we've not got all the massive buildings together. So we've got Avengers Tower and Daily Bugle up here, but the SIT complex is down here. We at the Bricklink Designer Program construction site, which I don't own yet, but definitely plan to either get or part out, because I think it would look really cool in the city, as another like tall bit. And then the key thing that I think I'm going to be doing for whatever version I end up doing is I'm a big X-Men guy. I'm going to do an expanded X-Mansion and grounds. It's going to be in walls. It's not going to be sat in a row of other buildings. We're going to make the X-Mansion bigger. We're going to at least put another level in it to make the mansion look like a mansion. And then we're going to put it in walls with like a proper little walled off, paved off area and make it look like a mansion that's a little bit separated from everything else. So that will probably take up like a 3x2, 3x2.5 base plate area. It's going to be a massive thing because I want a massive X-Mansion area, and fitting that in is one of the hardest points of it. So on this version, we can kind of slot the X-Mansion in here, have a little paved off area in front that can be next to the theme park, and then we've got our like superhero pop culture-y stuff up here. The Ninjago and stuff can go up there. And then we've got more of the traditional modulars down the bottom with a few rebrickables as well. The sit complex, a supermarket with a car park, some space for some food trucks. We've got to fit the botanical gardens in. And then we'd have the castles, medieval, Vikings, pirates, all the way down the right-hand side, again, going top and bottom. And then the theme park on the top on this side, with the theme park then kind of merging into a seaside town that would have a beach, a promenade, a pier, that kind of thing, games arcade, and a train station, of course, that loops in with here. So that's version number 1. And there's a few things about this that that have kind of made me rule it out. I think 3 train lines is probably too many. Obviously, we can't have that extra table in, so that cuts off this downtown area as well. I don't know that we need almost a third of the city dedicated to castles and medieval. We probably could expand the city along the full width of the top here, certainly over where the castles and the medieval stuff are. And there's also not really giving us any expansion room for new modulars, for the patrons alley that we're going to be doing once we hit the next milestone on the Patreon, for custom buildings that we're going to be building. I mean, we're designing a block party clubhouse basically at the moment over on Patreon. There's no room for that on this one. So it kind of would look cool, but blocks us in because of what we've got going on over here. So this one, not really going to work the way I want it to work. So that moved me on to version 2. And with all these versions from now on, we are chopping out that bottom table. So this one, we're moving things around a little bit. This is still based on us having the whole of the back as the raised platform area. But this time we kind of spread the city out a little bit more, and we're doing the city around in like an L shape. We're still trying to fit a tram line loop in, which is limiting our space somewhat. But we've also got a bit of city down here with a train line. So we can have a train line that kind of goes in a loop where it comes around here like this, but then goes under the raised platform and then pops out again on this bit, which would be the seaside town, and then goes back under. And so we can have a loop down the bottom and a loop at the top. So 2 looping sets of trains, 1 train, 1 tram. We move the X-Mansion over to that side, and we basically have 2 streets along the top. The botanical gardens at the end, sloping road to get us from the bottom part of the city up to the top part of the city. Brickcross Station still gets to back onto a train track, which it needs to do. But importantly, we have room for Patrons Alley, which is where our custom designed Patreon buildings are going to go. And still plenty of space because we've got the biggest set of tables, because these tables aren't all the same size. This is I think 1.8 meters by 1 meter, whereas this is 1.2 by 2. I think this is slightly bigger than this, and this is bigger again. So all 3 of these areas are different sizes as shown on here, but this allows us to have room for our like a promenade that actually goes widthways rather than lengthways. We have a beach, a pier, a lighthouse. This is probably the best layout for getting a good beach in, but is taking some prime real estate away from the city. It does limit the medieval and castles area to just this bit here. And in fact, I might actually pull these tables down so they touch the wall at the bottom. So we actually have a little bit of a gap between the city and then the medieval bit, which would be on a separate table, even though the gap would only be about that big. It just shows that it's not part of the city because it is completely different. I want to do it, but it doesn't necessarily need to be part of the city. So I like this design. The one thing I don't like about it is with having the two streets at the top, I then have to make the decision of, okay, so we've got these modulars at the top, which are facing me. So if I'm stood here, the modulars are facing me. What are we doing with these ones? Because we've got road either side of it. Are we facing them so that like the front of the boutique hotel is facing away from me and I'm looking at the back of a load of modulars? Because that's weird if we're just looking at the back of a load of modulars. But if we turn them around the other way, this street is then looking at the back of a load of modulars. It doesn't really work. We kind of need to have them back to back and sideways on almost. So the layout at the top there doesn't really work. It also doesn't give us very much room at all for the theme park. You can see the loop coaster will take up 3 base plates. So just having the loop coaster in dominates almost half of the theme park because of the space we lose from having the tram line looping round. It cuts across the corners to get the loop in, so we don't end up with much theme park space. And also we have the theme park then disconnected from the beach, and the city is kind of spilling down into the beach area as well with Patrons Alley, because it's the only place we could fit it in. I guess we could move it here to this little town square area, but then again we've got the same problem of, well, which way do the buildings face? It's not ideal, but I think it's progress over version 1. Version 3 I really like. This might be the one we go for, and because this one we're changing the layout of the raised platform. So now we have the raised platform in an L shape. So these 4 modules, if you like, so this section and then the top bit split into thirds are all exactly the same size. So the wood that is going to go across the top to give a full width raised platform could just as easily have a piece of it go on here and go into an L shape. So this one is with us having an L shape with the entire city on the raised platform. So the whole city is raised up. There's no city on the lower bits. And this would allow us to have an underground, is what I'm thinking. We could have, because where you've got the raised platform coming down here, we could literally have the train running underneath all the way around here, and we'll be able to see it. It'll be an underground train. You have Brick Cross Station then on the lower level where the beach stays in the middle. So you have Brick Cross Station there. So the train that you're seeing go along here on a little underground then stops at Brick Cross Station. And then obviously we can either just shuttle it back and forth or loop it around underneath the raised platform. But either way, we get to see an underground station. We can still have a tram line just shuttling back and forth along this main road at the top as well. So we'll still have a visible train. But by having the whole of the raised area all for the city, we give ourselves a lot more space, and we also lose that issue we had of what direction do we face the modulars in. So we have a row of buildings along the back wall, including Patrons Alley up there. We move the SIT complex up there. Some of the really tall buildings go along the back. And then we have the road, a tram line, and then this whole area is a pedestrian area. So we've not got roads down here. So we know the buildings on here can all face towards us as well because they're in a pedestrian area. We can then stick the X Mansion on this corner. So because this is all raised platform, we can have the X Mansion here with like road access. The one problem is it then potentially blocks the view of Patrons Alley because it's going to be big. But we can't put it at the back because if you try and move it back, it then blocks the tram line. And we struggle a little bit with fitting my expanded X Mansion in on this one. But we do have this nice big town square pedestrian area with some of the nicer looking modulars on there. Botanical Gardens gets a nice little front and center position. We've got space to add new modulars, which is important. And then on the back of the seaside area, you've got Brick Cross Station and a little row of shops, the ones that I feel like would be the most seasidey. So our metro station that we're going to be building soon, a Lego store, the Up House, and then we can have like a little promenade and do the same thing again with the seaside, the lighthouse, a pier, all that kind of thing. And then we have on a lower level the theme park, so you can have another tube station in here. So you've got this train that's running all the way around here. You've got Brick Cross Station, you've got the train visible under here. You could put another tube station here where you're seeing this train run along the side there to get us entry to the theme park. And then the theme park would be in there and has more space than on version 2. And then again, you've got medieval stuff down here, which I think is quite a good spot for the I don't think I ever move the medieval from here. I think I've pretty much decided on medieval being in this bottom right hand corner. The big thing I'm not sure on this one is I think it's it just seems a little squashed over to one side. I don't know if giving the biggest surface area to the beach rather than the city is sensible, which is what leads me to version 4, where we go back to having the whole raised area at the back, but this time we go with an L-shaped city that goes across the back for 2/3 of it. We move the theme park over, so the theme park connects together with the beach again, so we've got something a little bit more coherent there. It's now a seaside theme park that we can then have some cliffs or steps or something that leads down to the beach, so the theme park and beach together become a lot more logical. You can then put Patrons Alley over here without loads of stuff blocking the front of it, so we can see those custom modulars that we're going to make. The X Mansion, I mean, we probably wouldn't have the police station and the metro station there, because looking at it now with fresh eyes, the next day, there's not actually a road there. That's a tram line. So we'd need to move the police station somewhere where it has road access. We could potentially just shove everything along a little bit. There's no reason for that road to be there. Patrons Alley could be right next to the Avengers Tower, but there's loads of space for new modulars. Again, we've got this nice big open pedestrian area. The sloped road is in again. We get a nice big town square in front of the Natural History Museum and Tudor Corner and Botanical Garden, which are all beautiful modulars. This whole area becomes like an open area. You can still have a train line that runs that area, and then I guess it can still go across to the beach, so you could still have that underground feel where you have the train disappear underneath the platform, and then this bit where you've got this raised platform here, that could still be open. You could still see the train running through there, and then we could just have a train or a tube station popping out somewhere along here for the beach, so people could get the train from the city to the beach. We could still have a tram line running the full width, because we now don't have, where we did that before, which version was it? Was it version 1 even? There was one where we basically had the tram going through. Where is it? Did we not do it? I thought we had one where we had the tram just smashing through the theme park, but maybe we don't, or through the beach or something silly. But either way, you can put a tram station in the theme park. You can have another tram station up here. So we've got the metro station up there as well. But I like having the theme park kind of flow into the beach, and probably having the X Mansion and some of the Marvel stuff nearer the theme park. And you can almost make it so that it's kind of, they're an extension of the theme park. We're blurring the lines a little bit. Is Sesame Street part of the city, or is it part of the theme park? It can kind of play as both. Same with all the superhero stuff. You could do some big superhero scenes by having them kind of edging right onto the theme park, and it being, well, they are still in the city, but they are also in the theme park. We don't need a firm line there. And you can kind of go from the more realistic stuff down the bottom into the more fantastical stuff at the top, and then the custom stuff over here before we get into the castles and gardens. Now, obviously, I've dumped a lot of information on you there. I don't know how many people would have been watching to the end of this video. I've waffled for 20 minutes whilst looking at Excel. But this is what I do, and this is what I will continue to do until my wood arrives. And I imagine there'll be another 5 or 6 versions of this before I start moving Lego into the city. And then the final one will probably look like none of them. But I know there will be people out there whose brains work a little bit like mine, who have understood all of that and have now got things to say. And that's really who this video was targeted at. If you've got things to say, the comment section is there for you to say your things, as is the Discord. The link to that is down in the description below. And help me shape this city. It's I've never done anything on this scale before, and I've got a million ideas, and I don't know which ones of them are good or not. So help me out with it. I guess that's what the videos are for. But let me know, was this video weird? Am I ever going to do anything like this again? I'm not sure. Do you enjoy this? Or do you just want to see the Lego? I need feedback here, I think. But if you have enjoyed the video, leave a thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for loads more Lego content. Maybe that will actually include some Lego in future. And thank you very much for watching.